Hello everyone! Today I wanted to talk about potentially the biggest letdown in anime history, about Promised Neverland. More importantly about second season of this anime, which, I'm gonna spoil it right away, was just terrible. Like, there is no in-betweens, it was awful. And the worst part of it, that first season of Promised Neverland was a completely different experience, like almost a complete opposite of what season 2 was. Story is incredibly well developed and the creators thought of almost everything when telling the story about these characters. Norman, Emma, and Ray. But that's the thing. I'm saying first season because then second season comes out and it's a completely different experience. Some character lines are literally just abandoned, certain arcs that were in manga, in anime, just like I'ma head out. And then the ending, oh boy, this ending, trust me, it's not gonna disappoint you. So to put it into perspective, let's review both seasons one after another so you can really see the difference and you can really experience the disappointment.
This is Neverland, where there are no mothers and fathers.
Imagine the anime where every day of your life you're waking up in a strange orphanage. You always have enough food, you're always playing with other children, and everything always seems very nice. There's even an incredibly nice teacher who is taking care of you, and all of the children call her Mom, because that's how much all of them are attached to her. Every once in a while, one of the children is being taken away because somebody adopts them, but they are never seen again. And no, I'm not talking about Heavenly Delusion, which has almost identical setup for one of the plotlines. At one of the days, one of the girls, named Connie, turns 6, and coincidentally that's the same day when she gets adopted. Everyone are happy until one of the girls, Emma, notices that Connie left her toy, her favorite bunny, which she was carrying everywhere with her. Emma and Norman are right away rushing towards the exit of the orphanage, and even though her mother told them not to come there because it's dangerous, they are determined to give Connie her toy back. When they get to the gate, however, everything seems really quiet. Connie isn't there, nor that her parents. The only thing there is an old looking car with nobody inside. However, that's when they realize that Connie won't need her toy any longer. The kids right away are incredibly panicked. What is happening? What happened to Connie? They hide under the car after hearing a strange sound, and that's when they see this.
I'm afraid it was Connie.
After some hysteria, characters do calm down and discuss what even they saw and what the hell are they supposed to do now. You see, in the story we're gonna have 3 main characters, each of which is gonna add something to the table of discussion. We have Emma, who is an athletic girl, although with a attention span of a 5-year-old. Norman, smart guy who's really good at planning. And Ray, who is emo, I guess. Norman and Emma do agree that the whole orphanage is essentially just a facade, and in reality is actually a farm where the vegetables are them, and when any one of them is getting adopted, in reality they're just sent to demons to serve as some sort of meal. The scariest part of this reveal is that the closest person they knew their whole life, their mother Elizabeth, was the one sending them to demons this whole time. And the worst part about their discovery is they accidentally left the bunny near a car, meaning Elizabeth now knows that one of the kids was here and knows that the whole thing is a lie. The situation only gets more intriguing because the characters don't even know why exactly demons need them. Most likely, of course, it's the brain in them that is valuable, because all the children are studying 24/7. Clearly it makes organ in their head incredibly delicious for demons. As such, with this plot twist, the first dilemma is established. Elizabeth knows that one of the kids knows something he's not supposed to know. So Emma and Norman right away realize that they have to pretend like everything is still happy and normal, because if they're gonna keep walking around with serious and sad faces, Elizabeth is gonna realize everything right away. There's even a scene where Elizabeth almost right away confronts Emma, and it seems like that's it, she's caught, but Emma manages to play it cool. I'm saying manages because at first she just smiles and answers happily, but as soon as Elizabeth is out of the picture, Emma freaking collapses to the ground because that's how much stress she had in this conversation. The whole anime incredibly well utilizes this play of pretend, essentially, when characters constantly have to trick each other that everything is fine. In some instances, characters have to do that so they don't get caught. In some other instances, they have to do that so the other characters don't go crazy, because eventually, Emmaand Norman realized that if they want to make an escape with everyone in the orphanage, they'll eventually will have to tell them about the monsters, which some of them are like 3 years old, are probably gonna freak out. Hell, in some instances, character will even have to lie to each other because Emma only wants to escape with everyone, while Norman realizes that it's simply impossible because carrying all 30 people with them outside of the orphanage not only is a challenge because, like I said, some of them are kids, like, and not really like athletic kids, but some of them are also babies, and even if they can manage to escape, they have no idea what's going on outside. They have no idea even if they'll able to survive outside of the orphanage. Alright, characters are trying to figure out how can they even escape this orphanage. So far, the only thing they know is that the orphanage is surrounded by forest. Well, and a small fence, but going beyond that fence, which before none of them were allowed to cross. They realized that there is a bigger fence. But by that I mean a wall. Here comes another incredibly strong side of the series, because eventually anime is gonna up the stakes incredibly with every plot twist. Just when it seems that the character finally figured out the way to solve their problems, there's gonna be another kick in the face with another plot twist, and which, like I said, is just gonna twist the story a lot. And that is freaking awesome! For example, while trying to figure out how to cross the wall, characters also realize that Elizabeth somehow knows exactly where all the kids are. During one of the incidents where one of the girls got lost in the forest, Elizabeth had no trouble finding her. She just looked at her clock and right away realized where she is. Therefore, in addition to the wall, now characters realize that most likely all of them have tracking chips. Ray, however, says that it's not a problem and he can remove them eventually. He actually turns out to be probably the smartest person in this story, but we'll get later to why he does whatever he does. Characters agree that they can steal pieces of clothing, tie them up in a rope, and that's how they'll get over the wall. But like I said, just when everything in the story seems to work out for the main characters, the story punches you in the face. Elizabeth explains that now there's not only gonna be more literally little toddlers in the group, but also Sister Krona, who is gonna help Elizabeth babysitting all of those children. So not only now characters have to find a way to run away with literal toddlers who probably can understand the gravity of the situation, but now they have to deal with another one of the adults. And keep in mind, all of this is happening while the kids are not exactly know how much Elizabeth even knows. They know that she knows something, and she knows that the kids know something. But none of them exactly know everything, which keeps the tension at the great level. And here's the thing. This character is not necessarily bad. She is basically the third force in the conflict, while the main character represents the side that is just trying to escape this conflict. Elizabeth is just trying to get the business going, knowing that most likely if the kids run away, who end up a really valuable asset. Because the story already established that the smarter you are, the more valuable you are to the demons. So Elizabeth knows if at least one of those children runs away, her head may be on the line. Krona's motivation is something that is completely different, and it's gonna be revealed piece by piece throughout the show. If at first she just seems like a henchman, then it's revealed that she will gladly betray Elizabeth and trade her to the demons to become the mother herself. She even realizes that kids are up to something shady, and she tries to side with them in order to get rid of Elizabeth. But here's the thing, this whole time she feels like she should not even be there, because essentially her motivation, it is interesting, it adds extra tension and extra problems for Elizabeth, but if Elizabeth acted nice almost all of the time, and it was like interesting to guess whenever she's lying to kids and whenever she's being honest, Krona is like she's completely evil. Krona literally makes faces like she's a freaking devil. Like, I don't believe for a second that she feels anything for those children. Anyway, the characters are planning to make their escape, but now when they have Ray, they have to face Another problem. Ray reminds them that most of the kids they're trying to break out are literal toddlers, like some of them are 3 years old or something, and all of the other kids, unlike Emma, are not very athletic, so in order for them to succeed, they'll need to train them at least somehow, while not giving away the secret about the demons. They actively start playing more games like hide and seek or tag of war, where they basically have to run around, basically training the kids like that. Until one day, Emmaand Norman realized that Elizabeth doesn't pay as much attention to them anymore. She stops stalking them, which makes them confused, to which Ray suggests that most likely one of the kids is selling out the information. In addition to that, he explains that most likely in the following week he'll be able to get rid of the microchips, to which Norman replies that they'll make a move right after that, because waiting another month or so might cost them their lives. They still don't know exactly what the pattern is at which one of them is being sent to demons, so any of them can be a potential next candidate. Characters decide to start spreading the information, not revealing everything of course. When they meet up with Gilda and Dawn, they explain that most likely the kids are just being sold to some bad people, which is why they need to escape. Their friends first laugh at them, but then realize that those three are not kidding, and that escape most likely their only option.
Seriously? Wait, John, stop!
Well, I did say realize, not agree. Ray, however, is angry that Norman and Emma don't want to say anything about the demons, and mentions that most likely, eventually, that truth will have to come out. Norman, however, explains that he didn't reveal the whole truth because he plans on testing their friends, since they still don't know who exactly is selling them out. He's gonna tell Dawn that supplies for the escape are under his bed, and he's gonna tell Gilda that all of the supplies are in the attic. In which place supplies are gonna disappear is gonna reveal which of the two is the mole. Next day, Ray and Norman discuss what could be the possible motivation for the rat anyway, because why would he even want to sell anybody out? And to be honest guys, you are not ready for it, because this is a setup for probably the best possible punchline to the story. Ray explains that most likely this kid was promised something valuable, maybe even safety, anything really to get the information out of him. Emma, however, later in the conversation suggests that whoever is selling them out still should be going with them, and they still have to take him out during the escape. Yes, Emma out of the three is probably the most wholehearted, almost to an absurd point. At the same time, the kids do realize that the chips tracking them are in their ears. So really the last thing keeping them from escaping this place is figuring out who is the mole. And in here, if you're standing up, I suggest you sit down, because mole is Ray. Okay, in here, be ready, because there's a lot of mind games involved with that twist. The supplies from under the bed are gone, yes, but Norman kinda lied. He didn't tell anybody about that besides Ray. But the plot twist doesn't end there, because turns out this whole time, Ray knew, even before Norman and Emma. He was the one to suggest to return Connie's toy, and he sent main characters to the car in the first episode. Because turns out, for years he's been planning an escape, and this time his plan finally came to an end, and he started revealing everything to his friends. And Ray's plan was so convoluted, he even revealed to Isabella that he knew, so that Isabella would protect him and not send them away to the demons. And in exchange for Ray's help, Elizabeth was getting him random stuff from the outside world, like the camera. Ray already thought about everything, and the only issue in his plan is that, well, escaping by himself is kinda hard, so he needs help. So as a result, Ray proposes a deal. They're gonna go according to his plan, but Norman is not gonna tell Emma that the littlest children are gonna be left behind. Norman of course agrees to that deal because there is really no other choices, but the anime makes extra effort on showing us how horrible this decision felt to him, because he has nightmares right after. We can see emotions in his face and struggles, because he now knows that he not only has to lie to Emma, but leave all of those children behind that he spent a lot of time with and he's now attached to. But okay, here's the thing. Now when the escape is going to be like in the full progress, I'm gonna start explaining actions slightly shorter, because there's a lot going on here. Alright, first things first, characters had to deal with Sister Krona, who first proposed to be their partner in crime, but then the kids realized how much she knows about their plan, so as a result, Ray just lied to Elizabeth about Sister Krona and she's killed by demons. While all of that was happening, Emmaand Norman tried to get to the wall to see what's outside of it. But in my opinion, this is sorta the stupidest part of the plan, in my opinion, because Elizabeth almost right away realized their intentions. Like, literally, Elizabeth only had to look at the watch to realize Norman and Emma are really close to the wall, somewhere where they're not supposed to be, and they're only relied on Ray to distract her from doing that. Like, I don't know, I feel like there were better ways to do that.
Pissed mom's looking this way.
What should we do?
Act natural.
After that, shit goes down pretty badly, because Elizabeth locks up Ray, breaks Emma's leg, and congratulates Norman because he is finally adopted. Not gonna lie, when I was watching this for the first time, I felt my heart freaking shattering, because not only characters who I already established good emotional connection to, it felt like they're almost were able to escape, and after all of the struggles, Norman is just being sent away, and even if he tries to run away, characters discover that behind the wall, there's a huge well, so even if they cross the wall, there's no way of escaping. Oh, and by the way, I just thought about that. Ray earlier lied to Elizabeth that Krona was meant to poison her. Why the kids didn't just do that themselves and run away? I mean, yes, all of the characters are attached to her. She's the closest person they know. But after your escape, when demons find out about it, she's dead anyway, so what's the point? Regardless, Norman gets away. Yep, we're not gonna see him anymore in the show. The characters were making plans that he's gonna hide somewhere in the forest until their escape is finally ready, but in the end, it all turned out to be just pointless. And so, just like that, Isabella guides Norman away. However, this emotional damage doesn't break the characters. They're still ready to make their escape, and even though for Isabella everything looks like they give up, in reality not only all the children were still athletically training, but also were making more ropes to make sure they can get through the well. However, in the end the problem didn't come from Elizabeth, it came from Ray. Because he said that he's gonna make a first move before Elizabeth sends him away and just gonna burn himself and the entire establishment.
Listen, I just think...
Luckily for the main characters, just burning the orphanage was enough, and after that they finally escape. And here comes another last plot twist. In the end, we see Elizabeth flashback showing us how exactly she became the mother, and how and why Ray from the beginning knew that the whole thing was a facade. Turns out when Elizabeth was young, she herself realized that the whole orphanage is fake by accidentally climbing a wall. However, instead of killing her, demons made her an offer, becoming a teacher and a mother herself. Mother in this meaning, by the way, not only means a position, but also literally means giving birth to one of the children. As such, to save her life, she agrees to this deal. I'm not exactly sure why part of the deal is supposed to be like actually giving birth to one of those children, and then just send this child along with all the other children. Like, isn't that just increases the chances that the mother would eventually turn on demons because she would want her child to escape?
What mother would give up her child when she doesn't have to?
Which in the end was the case. Elizabeth was happy that all of the children ran away. Well, I mean, most of them. Some of the very little ones in the end had to stay. Well, because, like Ray said, regardless of how they play it, they're still gonna be dead weight. However, Emma still promises to them that in a year or two, they will come back and break them out too. The logic behind this promise is those children are simply way too young to being sent to the demons. As a result, they're definitely gonna be safe for another few years. And now, when we finished with the recap of Season 1, you can see that this is definitely very unique anime. It is really well established, it carries an interesting theme, and it definitely tells a unique and well thought story. So, now let's move on to Season 2, which has none of that. To be fair, second season starts with an interesting backstory. It is sorta cliche, but still, basically just somewhere in medieval times or something, demons and humans existed just existed. They were fighting all the time, killing each other, and demons were eating humans. Until one day the rulers of both kingdoms decided to reach a consensus and propose a gift. A gift from humans to demons turned out to be a handful of humans, which demons will later keep breeding for generations, basically creating a constant supply of food. After this gift, both nations were locked in their sides of the world, not connecting or interacting at all. Originally, when the characters were escaping their heaven, they were thinking that this happened about 30 years ago, based on encrypted books in a school library. More about those later. Upon escaping their promised heaven, however, they quickly realized that the outside world is not so welcoming to humans. There are giant monsters everywhere, and even demons who hunt them are not so welcoming to humans either. Because turns out that the demons that were sent after them to retrieve them not only are just not interested in retrieving them alive and would rather just eat them themselves, because they're classified as like, well, you know those like golden schnitzels you can see in Instagram reels? Yeah, basically that's what those kids are to the demons. Luckily for the main characters, they are saved by another group of people who are also demons. Okay, who would have thought in the demon world, they're attacked by demons, saved by demons, bruh. It's very funny when those two cloaked figures save the main characters. Emma is like, oh, thank you, humans, for saving us humans. And Ray is like, no, you guys are demons, I figured it out. Like, bruh. This twist is not even particularly interesting in my opinion, because there's literally no way you see it coming. Before that, all of the demons look like horrible monstrosities, and right now it turns out, yes, most of demons actually don't look like that. They all look like humans with weird skin colors and weird masks. That's it. In my opinion, it's kind of a childish move, to be honest. I know it was a manga, but basically it's only done because later in the season we'll have to sympathize with demons, and of course it's easier to do that when demons don't look like horrible monstrosities from hell. Speaking of character changes, to say a few things about Ray in this season, you know how he was master manipulator and basically like smartest person, he predicted and outsmarted everyone in season 1? So in here, he is more like Captain Obvious. I don't know, he doesn't do much. Most of the time he just stands by and acts smart, which is freaking disappointing after season 1. But anyway, those characters, Mujika and Sanji, turns out to be just good demons. There's also a really long explanation on why, so I'm gonna get into it more in the end. Basically, what you need to know is Demon World is sorta really religious, and they're eating humans not simply because they want to, but more because they need to. Basically, like, you know, in most vampire stories, if vampires are hungry and weren't eating blood for a while, they start acting like animals. Yeah, it's the same idea here. However, in Demon World, there are exceptions, like Mujiko. She has a very unique blood, which not only allows her not to eat humans and not go crazy in the process, but also she can feed that blood to other demons. And after tasting it, those demons also become immune to the insanity, meaning they don't have to eat humans either. Alright, you can see that so far the season starts more or less sane. Like, yeah, there's a lot of exposition for just a few episodes, but I mean, for a horror-like story, this is a pretty good progression. Yeah, okay, don't get used to it. Okay, I did talk about Ray, but let's also talk about Emma, because essentially they are the new main characters. Or rather, the main characters that survived season 1 anyway. Unlike Ray's, her progression as a character is more interesting. If in season 1 she was really lighthearted and didn't want to hurt anybody and wanted to save as many people as possible, and here she has to learn. Since they're now in Demon Land, yes, they can still get to human world, but to get there, they need to be able to know how to defend themselves. Which results in an interesting training montage, where Emma is taught by Sonchu how to hunt, but it didn't really go anywhere, to be completely honest, because she mostly remained pacifist afterwards, and she didn't even want to hurt demons in a little bit. In addition to that, anime here still pretended like all demons are bad, because Sonju and Mujika were just throwing weird dialogues behind characters' backs. Like, oh, we can eat them, we can so eat them, but then they just let them go.
I was hungry, okay?
Right, anyhow, essentially main character's plan is to get to the bunker of William Minerva. Who is William Minerva, you might ask? To put it shortly, remember all the books in the library that coincidentally contained all the important information about the demon realm? Well, turns out somehow William Minerva managed not only to sneak this information into the demon realm without demons noticing, but apparently he was somehow integrated into their society. And honestly, this was a really interesting setup, because William Minerva left hints that he was somehow able to build bunkers around the demon realm world, and if the children somehow escape, they can go into those bunkers. Only when the kids actually get to the bunker, the William Minerva is not there. There's hints of him, but he's not there. As a result, this whole build-up leads to absolutely nothing. All of those conversation about meeting Minerva actually is just pointless. But the funniest part, this is essentially when the facade of Promised Neverland as an adaptation completely falls. You see, in manga at this time, they had this, like, epic battle with demons, and the character they were supposed to meet in the bunker were helping them in this encounter. In anime, it just doesn't happen. Those characters don't show up. It's just completely skipped. And the funniest part in this arc that the anime just entirely skipped was explained how exactly Demon and the humans who are helping them exactly found the bunker and all of the stuff that is connected to it. In the anime, they just know. As a result, we get this absolutely stupid scene where guys in the army gear with guns fight those literal, like, 12-year-olds, and 12-year-olds win! And the cherry on top, there goes a time skip. The main characters already more or less established. They have a base of operations. Some of them even go to the village of demons to, like, steal supplies or whatnot, dressed as demons. What the hell is going on? In addition to that, all of the main characters are just really, really depressed, and essentially, instead of exploring their inner conflicts and personalities, they're just all depressed. Both Ray and Emma are just depressed, and they're trying to comfort each other, but I don't know, it feels really stupid, because, like, Ray, who's supposed to be, like, the smartest person in the room, he just spills, like really childish phrases like, "I believe in you, Emma." Okay, thank you. And, bruh, the plot twists don't end there, because when encountering several demons in the village who realized they were humans, they encountered Norman.
Holy plot twist!
Yes, the guy who died in the first season is just standing now alive. And okay, I don't even want to talk about how bringing back Norman destroys the whole message and the whole drama of Season 1. Because especially even if you're watching Season 1 and directly after that you're starting to watch Season 2, Norman was absent for like 4 episodes maybe, and then he just shows up. In manga, he was absent for maybe like 100 chapters, so I don't know, like, you don't even feel sad really. To be fair, his return was made not just for the fun of it. Essentially, he becomes one of the antagonists because of what happened to him off-screen. You see, it is revealed that the demon realm actually functions a lot like humans. Demons in this version of the world is not exactly some demonic creatures. Turns out they're more acting like parasites, slightly turning into whatever they're eating. And since their primary meals were humans, their society started to look a lot like human world. Unfortunately, besides getting intellect and more or less human form, demons also got the needed power, the needed control, and all the perks of human personalities. As a result, demon government, or demon aristocracy to be correct, basically holds all the power and also basically holds all the human forms. As a result, the poor demons either need to gather money to buy some human flesh, or they go insane, because I remind you, eating humans is essential for basically not turning crazy for demons. So essentially, Norman, while being off screen, was transferred to another one of Demon's facilities, where along with few other humans, demons experimented on them for reasons, yeah. Because being experimented on is not really cool, Norman and a few other goons escaped this place along with... I'm not exactly know where they got this poison. Basically, they just introduced it. Norman already has a poison that can basically speed up demons' mutations. And if you spray it up in the city, all demons are gonna mutate into like demon forms and eat each other, basically. This part of the plot is kinda abrupt because not only the whole escaping from demon facility just happens off screen and Norman just tells us about it, the demon poison also just comes out of nowhere and just serves as a handy device to eradicate all the demons. And characters just spend a lot of time discussing whether or not they should use it. Of course, Norman and his goons are all for it because all demons are irredeemably bad.
Yeah, about that.
Except Emma and Ray say that no, not all demons are irredeemably bad because we've met a few of them that don't even need to eat human meat. This whole conversation, by the way, looks even worse for Ray as a character, because if earlier he was trying to be like a realist, so to speak, he was always trying to explain that Emma's dreams are simply not achievable. Right now he makes a whole 360 on his personality and just basically agrees with everything Emma says. Bruh, what have they done to my boy? They make the best character in the series into basically a yes man. Like, come on. Anyhow, Mujika of course doesn't fall into Normal's plan. Since her blood can essentially reverse demon evolution, it basically becomes an antidote for the poison that is Norman planning to unleash on the demon realm. As a result, he's planning to kill both her and Sanji. But in the same conversation, Emma proposes, and I shit you not, that she can bring Mujika directly to Norman and they can talk things out. And if she does that, Norman will stop his plan, right? Bruh. I am not even joking. In the same dialogue where Norman tells Ray and Emma that he wants to kill those demons, Emma just says, yeah, I can bring those demons straight to you. What the fuck? I don't think I even have to explain that in manga that just did not happen. Yes, Emma promised to Norman that she would bring Mujika to him, but she didn't do that. She was lying. She wanted to meet the demon god so they can make another promise. But that just doesn't happen in the anime. The demon god, I think, mentioned in exactly one scene in the very end. And we'll get to the end, trust me. Speaking of skipped content, because I didn't understand it yet, pretty much the whole season is literally not what it was in manga. Most of arcs got skipped, most of flashbacks got skipped, and the story still tries to progress, but because key points in the story are not there, the anime tries to over-explain them with something else, but it just doesn't work. Like, for example, on here we were supposed to get a backstory of what happened with Norman off-screen. The whole flashback that was supposed to justify his insanity, so to speak. We were supposed to get information about farms, what position they take in bureaucracy of Demon Realm, how William Minerva is connected to all of that, but we don't really get it. Basically, all we know is that William Minerva's clan was still with demons after they separated with humans. They helped them establish the whole concept of farms, and were really high in demon hierarchy. However, eventually William Minerva realized that he was on the wrong side of the force, as a result wanted to make things right, but his brother was power hungry, so he killed William to seize control of the farms. And that is pretty much all we get, all the motivation for the main villain of the story, who not only barely shows up in the story itself, but also his motivation is that he's just, he craves power. That's it. That's literally it. Anyway, Emma meets up with Mujika, and Mujika, even though agrees to Emma's plan to go to Norman, meanwhile, just initiates his whole plan because, I don't know, because he's evil, I guess. Yes, there is a scene that shows that Norman and his goons are sick because they were tested on, and that they may potentially die before they can finish their plan, but Norman specifically explained that Mujika can ruin his whole plan, and because of that, he needs to kill her before he can start the plan. So why the hell did he start the plan? And this is not the dumbest part. So, Norman's plan, if I got that right, he sprays the poison in some random demon's village, it's supposed to keep spreading throughout the demon realm, but anyway. He goes to the village to still kill demons for some reason, even though they're all supposed to be killed by poison. When one of the demons calls his daughter by name, Emma. And that causes Norman, I shit you not, to realize that his whole plan is bad because some demons can be good and not all of the demons are bad. I'm gonna give you a second to process this scene because yes, they essentially ripped the scene from Batman vs. Superman where Superman calls his mother by name, Martha, and that causes Batman to entirely abandon the whole idea that Superman can even be dangerous. And here Norman just hears his name, Emma, and he realizes he freaking falls on the ground and cries with the realization that he was doing something bad, that because demons are not all bad. Oh my Jesus Christ. In manga, Norman's plan was not to cause a random genocide for the sake of making genocide. His plan was to eliminate the whole top of the demon realm aristocracy. All of the demons who hold power over farms. As a result, while he was doing it, Emma and Ray went through the trials with a demon god before Norman can finish his plan completely. And only when Norman realized that the portal to human realm is reopened because of Ray and Emma's actions, he allowed Mujika to fix everything with her blood. In manga, nobody even believed that Ray and Emma might succeed, and in the end, aristocracy, all of it, was dead, and regular low-life demons weren't a threat. The whole point of conflict between Ray, Norman, and Emma was to make a compromise decision. Because in the end, with no government, no human forms, Mujika's blood was literally the only chance to save demons, and to make them civil. In the end, there was literally no other choice for demons or humans. So in a way, all of the characters did what they wanted. Not all demons died, only good ones, so to speak, remained. Human forms are not a thing anymore, and all of the characters can safely travel to human world, which was like their whole plan from the start. But okay, let's come back to a more pleasant thing in the storytelling. Elizabeth is alive. How, you might ask? Because essentially she was literally the only person to blame for characters escaping the orphanage. Well, turns out there was another woman higher, Isabella, and she took all the blame. Yes, that's also kind of a weird plot twist, but whatever. But don't worry about that, because the whole build-up that was establishing Isabella as an evil character again went kinda nowhere. Yeah, she's still good. She still pretended and lied to everyone, and conveniently everybody believed that she's still on the side of demons. I am going to skip the episode where characters were fighting demons in order to get to the gates to the human realm, because it's kind of pointless. Essentially, I'm gonna say that everything, and I mean everything, fell in characters' favor. Because an episode earlier, characters accidentally found a pen that contained the plan of the base where the gates are located, the cure for the sickness that Norman and his goons had, everything needed for their plan is there. And in addition to that, Elizabeth turned out to be completely on their side and just betrayed the main villain. So now the characters finally have chance for their happy ever after. They travel to the human realm, except, wait, what is a slideshow? Like, I'm not joking, there's literally just a slideshow with random stuff that was a manga but has literally no connection to what happened in the anime. What is this? Wait a minute, are they implying that everything that they skip, like this entire content, was just off-screen? And that's how they showed it via slideshow? Via freaking PowerPoint? And okay, I don't want to play devil's advocate, but I sort of understand how studios work. I do get it that they're trying to make the most money and release the second season of anime, usually while the hype from first season is still there. Season 1 of Promised Neverland was pretty popular, so I can sort of understand why they were trying to make second season as fast as possible. But this... Like, I'm sorry, but this is just not a good product. Like, no matter the production issues, you can make up any excuses you want. This is just not a good sequel to incredibly well done Season 1. Which, maybe if it wasn't so well done, this wasn't such a disappointment. But after, like, all of the thought through plot lines, Season 2 just feels like a mess with little to no continuity. But to be honest, regardless of how second season was, the manga is still there, the first season is still there, they are still really good, and you can rewatch them and reread them if you want. If you actually want a really good story, it's all there, and no matter how terrible the second season was, it can take that away from you. But yeah, all things considered, it was probably the biggest disappointment, at least from the anime that I have seen. And I guess that is it for today. Tell me in the comments if you liked this video. See ya.